All right, Huia, just a little introduction about who you are and maybe where you're from.
Hi, I'm Huia and I am from Ashburton, and I'm a mum of 4, plus I've been blessed with 2 stepsons. And a grandmother.
And what makes you want to share your story on the Let Me Speak campaign?
Well, for me it was about part of my healing journey, because it's been 3 years since it all sort of started, our world was changed really. So that was in 2019, and for me to share, it's just raising awareness around some grandparents that have been through this also, or may go through it in the next few, well, not that you want people to go through it, but possibly could happen to them, because we were ones that didn't think it would happen to us.
Yeah.
As we've heard from previous stories that you just don't think that's going to happen to you.
Yep, hard out. So where does your journey begin?
March of 2019, my son and his partner at the time, they were expecting a baby. It was his second and her first. So Mama was 19, coming up 20, and my son was 25, coming up 26. And so from there it was relatively, she had a good pregnancy and everything, and the birth went all good. And she was born in like 3:56 a.m. By 5 o'clock that morning on the 8th, we were going into the realm of, she had stopped breathing.
So everything was all good, all the way up?
Yep, everything was all good. And basically the midwife had come back into the room, and they had, she wasn't, she'd done all the, whacked the baby on the backside to see if, and there was no response. So she had stopped breathing between 4:45 and 5 o'clock that morning. And so we're in the room, and it was so surreal. It was like you're trying to, because we were, as grandparents, we were trying to, huddle around these kids, and being her first baby as well, Mama's first baby, and you just go into some shock. It was shock. It was real shock. It was just like, wow, what just, it's just like, it's unbelievable. It's just like,
because 1 minute you're celebrating the birth.
Yeah. Celebrating, and now you're going into, you've got to, they're resuscitating her, and, just with that in mind, it was just like, how was it? It was just, for me, it was just like, you could feel it, and you just wanted to protect the kids as much as you could in that moment, because we were still unsure if she was, what was happening, as because they're doing all the work on her and everything. And by 6:30, she was sort of breathing and everything, and then they had to radio in for help, as in the hospital had to radio and people to advise them about how we're going to move forward, to see if, and we're still going in and out of, trying to, what's happened, you've got thoughts going, and you don't even know what's going in your own children's head, and, it was just real surreal. And for us, it ended up that she was incubated and everything,
and so at that time, were you thinking she'll come out of it?
Yeah, I think we were trying to keep positive for the kids, and you just, it was just, I don't know where this is going to go. Are we going to, she's just going to make it pull through, and you're just like, it's just, for me it was just, for me personally, it was just like, what, you're asking all these questions, and you just going through the motions, and you know,
that uncertainty
yeah,
of what the fuck is going to happen.
Yeah, and so then by the time everything had happened, you know, like everything in the hospital, you know, where they got her breathing again, because she was sort of doing the breathing and then she wasn't, and then, you know, her heart rate was going up and down, and, you know, it was for me, and I know for them it would have been, we were all feeling it, and, you know, and even on the car ride to the hospital, you know, that was like, are we going to get there, and are we going to, you know, are we going to find out that they've lost her on the way because the ambulance had been called? And
did she go in a different one?
Yeah,
to
she
use?
was in she was, because they birthed at Ashburton, and then we had to go through the Christchurch to get, you know, to see. Yeah, and you know, even those thoughts on the drive up there, it was like, how, you know, you're still thinking, how did this happen, you know? And also, it was also about, you know, getting up there, and we were still having to wait for any news, you know, where they could, the two kids could go and see Grace, and, you know.
Just that anticipation would have been fucking killing you, Zane.
It was, and because it was the weekend, and, you know, we had family, so, you know, were asking us what's going on, and because, you know, out of respect, and I couldn't even say anything to my own family, you know, to get some bit of moral support, because I was respecting my, you know, the kids' decision that, you know, we just need to see what's going, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where it's sort of like, you know, it's, for me, it was like, you know, it was hard to just not say anything, but, you know, you could feel people wanting to know, and, you know, we're just feeling that pressure as well.
The pressure, yeah.
Having to, you know, couldn't say anything because we didn't know, and at this stage it was sort of still uncertain. It was very uncertain.
Yeah, stop, go.
Stop, go. And then by the Sunday, I think it was, they said that they'd have to do an MRI on her and to see what the damage to her brain, you know, because basically she'd lost oxygen for a certain amount of time, and yeah, that was like, yeah, I just can't even fathom, you know, how does that happen?
Yeah.
You know? So basically over the weekend it was just basically we could go and see her, she was in the incubator and stuff, and, you know, on breathing tubes, and then when they said they're going to have to do an MRI to see what the damage was, that's when the reality hit. Started to hit for probably myself and her mum, but I don't know where the kids were at that stage with it, because they were still probably a bit numb and shocked, I think, and just hoping that their daughter would pull through. And then we had the MRI.
But the shock hit you, or the reality kicked in for you at that time?
At that point, it definitely kicked in for us. But, yeah. And then, with the MRI, they had an MRI, and we had to wait for those results. And, by Tuesday, I think we had the MRI, and then they had to go over it and then come back to us. So we played a lot of uncertainty for quite like 3 or 4 days before, you know, they could give us any news to say that.
You'd probably be looking for the answers, like, why the fuck is this happening? Eh? What could have been done to prevent it? Could anything have been done?
And like, and it was basically that. What could we done? And at the end of the day, there was nothing we could have done. You know, but you still feel that guilt as well. As could we have noticed a bit sooner? You know, and I guess for me, I know that's what I felt for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, could have I done something? Shouldn't I? I was a mum. I was a mum. I should have known. You know, looked for the signs. But, you know, and you're just having that conversation in your head, and, you know, and it was like, yeah.
So you've got the MRI.
Yeah, and basically, we were told she would be on a ventilator because of the lack of oxygen. There is a name for this, the cause of it, and it's like hypo, and it's a real long name. It's like 3 names, and it's like, but basically it was the lack of oxygen to her brain that's done the damage to her brain. So she was going to be either, she would be on a ventilator, and she would be in a wheelchair if she had survived. So basically, a breathing tube was going to help her survive.
Oh.
So then they had to go through that, making that decision of, who just, she's still quite young.
That's a fucking hard decision to make,
And it was hard. And because you're still feeling the pressure from whānau and friends, especially. And I think, I didn't feel it so much from mine because I think they knew that if that I would get back to them when and if I could.
Yeah, hard.
So I think, and for me it was really hard because it's 2 cultures, Pākehā and Māori. So it was 2 cultures with different how they do things, or how to versus we're about manaakitanga and supporting as where we can, and not putting so much pressure on, even though you want answers. It's just like it's really is really hard to give those answers when you don't have them at all. So and then when they made the decision that they were given the diagnosis that basically they were going to redirect care of Grace. So we got that time to have photos, we got time to have, just as us as, the 2 grandparents. And
what does that mean, redirect care of
basically
Grace?
They would just do what they could, to keep her comfortable. That's basically sums it up without going into all the big words that they were using, and you're like trying to, please just dumb that down. Well, just like put it in simple terms so we can understand. Yeah, because some doctors just were using those big words, and it was like, and
you don't know whether to be worried or
and it was like I don't know about this, but and then it just it was just basically they redirected the care of Grace and let her just disconnected everything slowly. And because the next morning she had just deteriorated, so they were basically just going to allow that process just to they advised that we just thing, and then you just get your final moments with her, and move to now we're going to go there. We didn't. We just had to go through that process of from the redirection and her stats just dropping, and now the kids didn't have that decision. We're having that decision taken off them when they were going to take her off those
life support machines.
Yeah.
And how was that as a grandmother?
It was hard because we had that time with with Grace, and it was now it was just there is no I just feel that there was no real other way. It was we were going to lose her no matter what. We could have, they could have decided that, they were going to go the other way.
But there was no guarantee.
Yeah, there was no guarantee. And then, being both so young, they had to make that decision. And just being able to support them with that decision as well, whether you agreed with it or not, because at the end of the day, it's not you having to deal with that every day,
true.
Having to deal with it every day. You can be there to awhi, but you're not there every day, this is their life. This is going to be their life.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't Yeah. And you wouldn't wish it on anyone. But at the end of the day, it was a choice that was going to have to be made regardless.
Yeah. Did you ever get any answers as to how that happened, or?
Not really any answers from the MRI to, because there was an investigation after, from the placenta, her pregnancy, like through pregnancy, what it was like and stuff, but there was no guarantees anyway, either way. It was.
And so then there was no way to kind of prevent.
Yeah, basically.
That from happening. And how is the whānau doing?
Well, the kids by November 2019, the kids had split. And
it takes a toll.
Yeah, it did. It took a toll, and it was taking a toll right from the get-go, I would say, because they were both dealing with it.
I always say when something happens like that, it either pulls you together or it tears you apart.
And I was, for me, it was like I was trying to get the kids through that grief without actually dealing with it for myself.
For yourself, yeah.
And that alone was never gonna. That was not going to be a long-term fix at all. So when I walked into someone's office in regards to them, they go, "Who are you talking? Who's there to offer you?" And they saw that I obviously needed it, and I hadn't really. Up until then, I hadn't really. I'd just get on with, just throw myself into whatever and just deal with it that way.
You didn't have your moment to grieve.
Because I was worried about the kids. Because that's just me. Worry about the kids first. I prioritise myself last. And that was, like I said, that was the key moment for me. Is to actually face the reality that I had to do my own healing. And how was that going to look for me? Because I didn't know how that looked for me.
Well, you'd probably put it over here and kind of buried it, for so long you didn't even know how to kind of...
And to be honest, that's when I started following you, because you shared your story about Alaska. And that was my defining moment, I think, because I could understand how that must feel, even though the child wasn't mine. But I could understand. It was sort of like a epiphany had happened for me. And I was just like, wow. If someone can do it, I can do it too, but in my own way, And like Victor said, I didn't go down that alleyway of the drugs or anything, or drinking, because for me, I don't think that would have been... I was strong enough not to go that way, but I also had the awhi of my whānau. I had the awhi of my whānau at that time as well, but I wasn't also utilising my whānau and my friends, and I was going, I'm okay,
Do you feel as though you had to be strong for your kids, for the kids?
Yeah, and that was the priority for me. And then, so it was from there, I sort of, from there, when I heard your story, but then I also, for me, I also needed outside help. Yeah. So that's when I started to get in touch with my Māori culture. And it was like, I met a wahine through an organisation, and she did a mirimiri on me. And that was when I started to really let it out, the mamae and everything. So from there on, from that, I was going to start that process of I need to heal me before I can help, because I've always been that person. Help someone else first.
And put yourself last.
So then, and it's hard because it was like, at the same time, it's hard because you you don't think that you need it, but you do. And it sort of made me realise that it was okay to grieve for her. It was okay because I sort of spent a lot of time, like once a month I'd go out there to spend time with her at the cemetery, and you know that was sort of part of my process too. But I think at the same time it was holding me back because I wasn't letting her go, and that was really hard. Also because I did that for probably another good 6 to 12 months, and then as I was healing, I could feel myself. I didn't need to be there.
Yeah,
but,
man.
Yeah, I didn't need to be there as much as I was doing. And yeah, I just like, it was, yeah, that Mirimiri really helped that for me. But it's not for everybody. And now I'm just the first one. Oh, you've got stuff going on, please go and have one, because it's sort of, it's different. It's different. It's not counselling, because I knew counselling wasn't, because I didn't want to talk about it either. So I needed to find an option where I could be okay with, to just move on. And yeah, that was, for me, that was easy. That was the best thing for me. And seeing, just and hearing other people's story as well, you know, how they have. And
I think it's just awesome hearing from a nan or grandparent's perspective. You know, I don't think I've had too many conversations with my parents about how they felt during that time. Yeah. You know, and with me fucking going off the rails like I did, you know, then I can just see, like, since listening to you, that they would have had to put their grieving on the back burner to now try to fucking save their daughter. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, because it's like that flight or fight mode.
Yeah,
fight mode.
Because now, you know, for what I did, now mum and them are not only lost a grandchild, but potentially about to lose their own child. Yeah. You know, so, yeah.
And that alone was scary, because that's what I thought, that we might lose both of them. Because they were so heavy in their grief as well. And you know, you just had that in your back of your mind as well, that you had to just be strong for them, if anything. And yeah, for me, and now, even now, I'm at peace of, you know, because that was my main focus for the year, is, you know, the last couple of years is being at peace with it. You know, it is what it is. It's the end of the day, but at the same time, it's nothing that you want anyone else to go through or have. And there's a quote, it's grandparents grieve twice, because they're grieving for the grandchild that they've lost, and they're also grieving for the child that is going through it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hard out.
So for me, it was, it was, not an easy time, but at the same time, connecting with people as well. Yeah. Just have to, you know, accept that help. If someone else can see it, then there's obviously something that they saw. Then, you know, if you're not going to help yourself, I'm going to try and help you. And I was like quite thing to it. It was like. Yay! Someone's come to save me. Yeah. You know, like moment. It's really bizarre. Now I'm thinking about it. It's like, you know, that person, and you know, it was just.
Where would you say you are in your healing journey now?
I find it a heck of a lot easier to talk about her. I still don't like to talk about that part as much. I try and focus on the good parts of our journey. Yeah. So, for me, I feel lighter knowing that I'm working through it. And you know, when this opportunity came, that was like, wow, it was like, boom.
And what would you say to any whānau that might be going through this currently and struggling?
For me, I think you also have to know your limits. Know your limits. You know, if you are struggling, there are people that are out there that will help. And yeah, it's not something that you wish for anyone. But at the same time, if I can, or if anyone that's been through it too, that I've got tools, that they share those tools with grandparents, and you know, I'm even in a support group for grandparents, and you know, we talk about it.
Yeah, well, I think that is so good, because for other grandparents to know that, you know, it's okay that they're grieving as hard as well.
Yeah.
Like that quote that you said. I love that.
Yeah. It's definitely been a ride.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you tell us, I know we talked about it before we went live, but just about what 2022 looks like for you, because I just think it's so beautiful.
Oh, now I'm going to repeat what I
Repeat it, bitch.
Just about my healing, about being on a healing journey for myself, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Empowering people when I can empower, or even them empowering me. So not just giving out, getting back from each other, you know. And I'm being very lucky to keep very good close circle, you know, that are there for me, you know, no matter what, you know. And it's good, but it's also taught me that I'm not one that likes to have that. And you know, even with the whānau, they've been really supportive. You know, me talking to them about it, you know, what I was going to do. And it took me ages to actually let anybody in.
Yeah, because I think maybe sometimes people get so used to actually not sharing how they're feeling and things like that, then you come across people that genuinely give a fuck.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just having to go through that thing of kind of opening up and feeling comfortable to do so.
And that's it, finding the right people. Yeah, finding your vibe.
Yeah.
As you see, it is about finding that right vibe with people. Because sometimes, you know, and you know, we're all guilty of it, that sometimes our gut instinct is, but then you realise, oh, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Awesome. Well, we just want to say on behalf of CWK, thank you so much for sharing your story. We love you, and we wish you the best on your journey. And I'm going to be right there watching. Love you.